Hello everyone. I'm from SocialPeta. My name is Tunahan Oduncu. I am the key account manager at SocialPeta, and I'm responsible for Turkey and Israel market regions. I'm going to give more information about SocialPeta. I'm going to start with giving information about SocialPeta, but I'm also going to talk about 2023 quarter one insights for global mobile game marketing. Especially for gaming sector, trends are changing a lot, and it's very important to catch new trends. And today I'm going to talk about trends in quarter one 2023. First of all, I will start talking about SocialPeta. Maybe some of you are familiar with the tool. Maybe you may have heard about SocialPeta. It's an ad intelligence tool. I'm going to give more information, and then my second topic will be global mobile game marketing trends in quarter one 2023. And after that, I'm gonna talk about global mobile game marketing of top genres. And I'm gonna end my presentation with top countries and regions around the world for global mobile game marketing. First of all, I would like to start with SocialPeta. SocialPeta is, as I mentioned, is an ad intelligence tool. What we provide is ad intelligence data. You can simply spy your competitors' ad data, and you can also get ad data from networks, media, and advertisers around the world to inspire you. SocialPeta covers nearly 70 countries and regions around the world, and it provides get data from over 70 well-known ad channels like Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, and Unity. SocialPeta provide nearly 1.3 billion ad creative data. This is a very huge ad data number, and we update nearly 1.2 million ad creative data each date. So we have a fast updation system. Our updation system is hour by hour. So every day it is nearly 1.2 million. So when we check ad creatives, there are some parameters like duration, impressions, popularity, and interactions. So we calculate those parameters, and we provide you the best high-quality ad creatives in real time. SocialPeta is one of the world's advertising ad intelligence platform, and we have experienced more than 8 years, and we are working with many game companies around the world, and we simply provide you a promotion strategy. Here, I'm going to deep dive into the topic about SocialPeta. SocialPeta covers a broad platform. So as I mentioned earlier, it covers nearly 70 countries and regions around the world, and it gets data from over 70 channels worldwide. So it covers a lot of regions, and it gets data from lots of networks around the world. And the second, what makes SocialPeta is unique and special is it has a large data size. So we nearly provide over 1.3 billion advertising data, and as I mentioned earlier, it has a rapid updation system. And we also have ad intelligence system. So we provide you the best ad creatives in real time. As I mentioned before, we have some parameters like duration, like impressions, like interactions, and some parameters. And after mentioning about SocialPeta, I'm going to start about global mobile game marketing insights. First, we are going to start with advertisers with new creatives. This topic is very important because when you are in the industry, you have to make new ad creatives to catch the trends. And when we check this data, for example, new advertisers with new creatives here in the blue color, for example, advertisers around the world, more than 92% came up with new ad creatives in quarter one 2023, and it accounts for nearly 50K. So most of the advertisers came up with new creatives in quarter one, and new creative accounts for more than 7.8 million. So new creatives is in the yellow color as here. And we are going to check proportion of mobile game creatives by genre. When we check the advertisers advertisers proportion, in the first place we see casual game advertisers. There's no doubt for that because casual game advertisers are rising around the world. For example, year-over-year change for casual game advertisers is more than 2%, and all of the advertisers around the world. Casual game advertisers accounts for more than 29%. In the second place, we can see puzzle game creatives. But when we check this data, especially in RPG games, we saw a decrease for year-over-year change for RPG advertisers. One of the reasons is that because RPG games are very hard to develop, especially you have to make a lot of invest on R&D, so it's not easy to make RPG games. So we saw a decrease for RPG advertisers around the world year over year. And when we check the creatives, we can see on the top casual game creatives. It accounts for more than 39%. And we saw an increase in casual game creatives year over year. And we also saw an increase on arcade game creatives around the world. But the other game genres have seen a decrease, especially the other game genres, except from casual and arcade games. We saw a decrease in other game genres for creatives. Here in this chart, we are going to see advertisers, monthly average advertisers and monthly creatives per advertiser. As you imagine that most of the advertisers are from North America, monthly advertisers, and it accounts for nearly 13K. But when we check the Asian countries, monthly creatives per advertiser is very high. That means, for example, one advertiser is making a lot of ad creatives, and the percentage of monthly creatives per advertiser is very high. And from this data, we can also see that like Southeast Asia, like China, Hong Kong, Macau, Taiwan, and Japan, Republic of South Korea, there's a huge game industry as well, and it's increasing as well when it comes to download and revenue. So in this data, we are going to check creatives on iOS and Android. So it's also important to choose the best channel, but for example, after the Apple's IDFA policy in 2021, we saw a decrease for iOS advertisers. But last year, in 2022, we saw an increase in iOS advertisers until 2023 this year. This year, in Q1, we saw a decrease for iOS advertisers. But Android advertisers are rising. For the last 3 years, there's a trend that Android advertisers are rising. And when we check the creatives per advertiser, for example, 185 creatives from iOS, and when we check the creatives on Android, 245 is for Android. Here is also an important topic that I would like to mention. For example, here, there's no doubt that most of the game creatives are in video type. This is probably mostly there's an increase in internet coverage. For example, even in poor countries, they are getting a good internet right now at the moment. So many advertisers are choosing the video creative format for their ads. But in the second place, we saw image creatives. It accounts for nearly 14% in Q1 2023. And after image creatives, we can see playable ad creatives. Here, when we check this data, for example, this is estimated impressions per creative in the first quarter. So one creative got nearly 97K impression. And when we check this data on iOS and Android, when we separate them, we saw a lot of impressions are coming from Android, for example, more than Android. For example, nearly 114K impressions came from iOS, and impressions per creative on Android is nearly 90K. And most of the impressions, when we check the genre with the highest impression per creative, is board games. So board games creatives got lots of impressions in comparison with other game genres. Here, when we check this data, video creatives had the most impressions in Q1, of course, because most of the advertisers are making creatives in video format. There's also an interesting part here because during the 2022, impressions for image creatives had been rising until this year, Q1. But in Q1, we saw a decrease for image creatives. So most of the, but we expect an increase for image creatives as well. And my third topic will be insights into global mobile game marketing of top genres. Okay, we are going to start from here. Casual game. We are going to first check casual game marketing. Casual game marketing is very important and the most common one. So there are lots of data here, very important data. Here in the orange color, we can see year-over-year increase for casual game advertisers, and in the green color, we can see monthly over monthly advertisers increase in green color. When we check this data, for example, around the world, especially in South Korea and in China, like Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan, we saw an increase for casual game advertisers in these regions. Only we saw a decline in Middle East, monthly over monthly decline. But in the other regions, casual game advertisers increased significantly, especially in the USA, more than 10%. We are going to check casual games download and revenue trends, because when it comes to promoting an app, a casual game, for example, people are all interested in how much revenue we can get, how much download we can get. So simply we are going to check casual game marketing around the world in Q1. So, from 2017 to 2027, here, especially in 2021 and 2022, casual games, of course, casual game downloads and revenue were rising. This is the revenue trend. But in 2021 and 2022, the revenue increase slowed a little bit because the increase wasn't so big. That's because of the post-pandemic era. During the pandemic, people were spending a lot of time playing games. But after the restrictions, people started going out a lot, and they gave up playing and spending a lot of time. So here, the increase was significant, and in 2021 and 2022, the increase was not so big. But as SocialPeta, we expect that casual game revenue will increase. And in 2027, for example, it's going to reach nearly $26 billion revenue around the world. And for download, it's the same. For example, in the post-pandemic era, there was a slowdown, but we expect that casual game downloads will increase, especially in 2023, this year, and until 2027. Here we are going to start, and our second game genre will be strategy games. this game genre is really fiercely competitive because it's not easy to enter this market when you will have lots of competitors around the world. Firstly, you have to come up with a good game and you have to make a good marketing policy. But the market is really competitive. When we check this data, advertisers are mainly focused in the United States. And in this year-over-year change, especially in the USA, more than 64%. But monthly-over-monthly change is only in the USA and in the Southeast Asia. And all the other regions recorded decline for strategy game advertisers. And we are going to check strategy game marketing for revenue and downloads. It's the same in this game category as well. In the post-pandemic era, in 2021, in 2022, there was a slowdown, but we expect that strategy games will increase. And especially when we compound annual growth, it's going to be more than 60% increase in revenue. When we compound 2022, between 2022 and 2027, there will be an annual increase more than 60%. Okay, we are going to check RPG marketing right now. RPG marketing, for example, year-over-year change, only the biggest increase was in the USA. There's no doubt for that. But when we check this data, monthly-over-monthly data, we saw a decrease in Japan, South Korea, and others like China, Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan. As I mentioned in my presentation before, RPG games very hard to develop, and they cost a lot of money, especially R&D cost a lot of money for this game category. But we saw an increase for RPG advertisers in the USA. In the USA market, we all see increase in everything almost, in revenue and downloads and advertisers. When we check the RPG game for revenue and download, here we saw a very big decrease. For example, in 2021, in 2022, there's a decrease like more than 16%. For this game category, if you develop an RPG game, we suggest that you have to localize it, because local RPGs got more revenue and downloads. So, for example, if you are making an RPG for Southeast Asia country, or for example Korea, you have to localize it. So that's why the R&D cost is very high for this game category. And we are going to check simulation game marketing. For simulation game marketing, number of advertisers grow nearly more than 50% year over year. And we saw an increase, especially in South America and Southeast Asia and the United States. When we check simulation game marketing revenue and downloads, we expect that this game category, simulation game marketing, will also increase, both in revenue and both in downloads. In this market, there are lots of Chinese company brands. They are very successful, especially in simulation game marketing. I'm going to jump to the last game genre, casino game marketing. When we check this data, especially South America, it seems very obvious that there's a big increase in South America. That means people from South America like casino games, and we can see this data from year-over-year increase. It's more than 181%. And there's also an increase in month-over-month advertisers in South America. So Casino game developers are mostly targeting the South America market, and after the South America, we can see America, and there's a high increase in America and both in monthly over monthly and year over year. But especially when we check like China, Southeast Asia, South Korea, in those countries, casino game advertisers decreased a little bit. There are some reasons for this. For example, there were COVID restrictions in Southeast Asia countries, and the restrictions abolished, I think, in 2022, at the end of 2022. So people started playing casino games outside instead of inside. That's why we saw a decrease in Southeast Asia countries. But for this game category, South America is very booming. And when we check the casino game marketing, as SocialPeta, we expected from 2021 to 2027, both revenue and download will increase. But of course, downloads of casino games decreased, especially in 2022, because of the post-pandemic era. When we check this data, for example, advertising chart, most of the casino games were slot games. Advertisers really develop slot games. They are very popular in this category. After the slot games, we can see casual casino games and poker card games. And our last topic will be insights into global mobile game marketing in top countries and regions. Okay, we are going to first start with America. It's the biggest market for game developers, and we are going to check the American market in advertising, in revenue, and in downloads. Here we have an insight. For example, puzzle games have been replacing casual games in America, so puzzle games are getting very popular in America. When we check the advertising category here, in the first rank, we can see casual games. So casual game advertisers promoted the most in American market. And in the second place, we can see puzzle games. And in the third place, we can see simulation games. When we check the revenue, for example, for this category, most of the revenue in America came from RPG game category. Yes, in America, if you have RPG and if you reached a success, it means you can get lots of revenue in this market. In the second place, we can see strategy games. In the third place, we can see a puzzle game category. When we check the downloads here in America, most of the users downloaded puzzle game category in America. That's, as I told before, in the American market, puzzle games are getting very popular, and they have been replacing casual game category. In the second place, we can see casual games, and in the third place, we can see action game category. When we check the revenue and downloads in the American market, after the COVID, of course, there was a slowdown for American users to spend games. But right now we can see we expect that both revenue and downloads will increase in the American market. For example, revenue in the American market will reach $98 billion for American game market, and downloads will also increase. In terms of downloads, most of the games hyper casuals in America. Here we are going to check an advertising a game in America. They reached a great success in America. This game is developed and published by A+ Japan. The game name is Street Fighter Duel. The game is the first RPG on mobile in the Street Fighter series, and gameplay is action and RPG, and art style is 3D cartoon, and game genre is classic Japanese action game series. Here, when we check their advertising trend, they mostly promoted on Android. For example, in March 2023, they promoted a lot of ads both on iOS and Android. In the green color, we can see Android number, and in the blue color, we can see iOS. And we can see top media of advertising for this game category. They mostly promoted in puzzle and reading and action media. I'm not so sure if we can play this ad creative. There's an ad creative here, and we can see the creative success here. For example, there's a streamer here. He's trying to create a feeling, a common feeling for every user. Yes.
I'm a pro fighter by day. At night, I like to relax by playing Street Fighter Duel. It is the perfect game to jump into. They have all my favorite fighters. I can duel against other players if I want, but what I really like is that campaign mode. I'm able to upgrade my players, unlock new skills, and even turn on auto combat, so all I gotta do is watch my fighters fight for me. It is nice. Download Street Fighter Duel now and join the fight today. Why not, y'all? It's free.
So the streamer is talking about like, I can upgrade my skills, I have fighters, he is trying to make a common feeling for users, and it was a very successful creative in the American market. And there are some new games in America. Among all simulation games, there were some popular games in America. For example, there are also some creatives here. The first one is NBA All World. This creative starts with a real person, then it goes to the game. So when people see a real person in the game, it attracts audiences to download. The game creative starts from real life and it goes to the game. I think we don't have time to play every creatives, and I'm gonna jump to this one. Here, there's another popular creative, especially Happy Hospital. The game name is Happy Hospital. In this game, for example, you are just trying to get training to be a doctor. Like the game gives you an education. For example, you treat some patients in the hospital. It's like a training and doctor and simulation game. They are doing very great in American market. And the last one is Cat Snack Bar. This game is a business simulation game. For example, you are like a cat. As you expand your business, you hire more cats and more cats. It's teaching you how to make a business. So it's also popular in the American market. I wanted to show the creative, but unfortunately we don't have so much time. And we are going to jump to the top game genres in Middle East. Middle East is also an important market for game advertisers. In this market, strategy games are very popular, and most of the games from Chinese companies. In this market, Middle East, people love action, shooter elements like PUBG. PUBG is very popular in Middle East. When we check the advertising part, most of the advertising comes from casual game. It accounts for 34%. And in the second place, we can see puzzle, and in the third place, we can see simulation. When we check the revenue in Middle East market, most of the game genre is strategy games. When we check the American market, we saw most revenue came from RPG games, but in Middle East, most of the revenue came from strategy games. And in the second place, we can see action, and in the third place, we can see RPG category. And when we check the downloads, most of the users from Middle East downloaded arcade, and in the second place, casual, and in the third place, action. So we are going to simply check the markets. We have 4 countries to check in Middle East here. We are going to first check United Arab Emirates. In this market, they had the widest coverage of internet in Middle East. Their internet structure is very good, and majority of mobile games were male-oriented. When we check the Saudi Arabian market, in this market, mid-core and hardcore games are very popular, and players are willing to spend a lot of money in Saudi Arabian market. When we check Turkish market, we can see a big growth in market size, in revenue, and users gaming time. And when we check the Egyptian market, for example, it's a new emerging market. Most of the game developers are trying to get revenue and download in this country. So there's a competition in the Egyptian market as well. And in the Middle East here, we can see revenue and download, and we expect all increase from 2023 to 2027, both in revenue and download. And we are going to check an advertising in Middle East. There's a popular game. I can say game or social platform, because it combines 2 elements, game and social media. It's like social media. For example, in this game, you can have a real chat with your friends. You can invite your friends to play Ludo and Domino. And most of their games on Android, as you see, they targeted on Android a lot, especially in January. They also promoted their ads on iOS, but on iOS they didn't promote as much as on Android. So the ad creative here is social element. So the creative starts from real voice chat. So first you see a voice call, and then it goes to the game. So they are highlighting the importance of social element. When we check the advertising platform for the past 1 year, they mostly promoted on Messenger, in the second Audience Network, and on the third place, Instagram. And some popular new games in Middle East. There are some popular games in Middle East, like Anime Style, A Fantasy World, awaits for you, like Anime Style MMO, and the hyper casual Hoarding and Cleaning. And another one is, again, hyper casual Ammo Fever. In Middle East market, in Q1, we didn't see new mid-core and hardcore games. Most of the games were old games. That's all for all. I think we finished our time, and thank you for listening to us. And in the meantime, if you, our product manager, SocialPeta's product managers, Summer is here. I would like to answer your questions with Summer. If you have any questions about my presentation, about SocialPeta, we would like to answer your questions. And thank you for listening to me, and have a great event.